You said what chapter?
Chapter 7, verse 8.
Easy enough to find. Yes, we were
Yes,
getting into,
indeed.
I called it Proverbs Revisited.
All right, we are online for anyone who's joining us now or after the fact from Topeka or anywhere. Thank you for joining Torah Club, where we are working on the book of Kohelet or Ecclesiastes. And we'll begin, as we always do, with our blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. If you say Amen, you get full credit. And we will be, so we're in the middle of this section where we're talking, there's a lot of Proverbs, essentially. This is like a mini book of Proverbs we're getting from Kohelet, maybe even before the book of Proverbs, maybe this is the proto-Proverbs, but however you want to put it, they are the same author regardless, we believe. And this, we've been getting educated on the ways of being, not just in terms of what we've been focused on up to chapter 7, which was how to deal with the soul crush that comes with living as a person in the world disconnected from purpose. No, come on in.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good. Oh, and that's a good reminder. This is a good reminder because I didn't share. We were still showing people us and not the text, and we want to show people the text. So let me.
11, you did great.
Yeah, we're doing great. I'm pretty sure that'll be almost everybody from this. The folks in the office too much.
And you bring color to the meeting.
I wanted to be warm.
All right, so we're in chapter 7, verse 8. They have a page number that's probably helpful. Though I do not. So okay, so we'll look at verse 8. The end of a matter is better than the beginning of it. Better a patient spirit than a haughty spirit. Any confusion about this one? The second part, probably not. I think we can all understand why that would be the result, even of that verse, let alone without understanding the first part.
From his perspective, I understand, I think, what he's saying. But I think the beginning of a matter is one of excitement, and that's a good thing.
And more potential.
Yeah. So I would say, even from that perspective, take this and say, how much more so then is it? He's not saying the beginning is bad. Beginnings are always bad. That would be a silly thing to say. Then we would have no beginnings. Merely that the more important is what comes of it. Yeah. And so however great, exciting, fruitful the beginning is, it plays into his idea of permanence, right? He keeps saying things that you have, you will lose. Things you think are permanent are actually just hevel. They're just vapor. They don't really matter. And so this tracks very clearly with that. This is saying, building permanence, legacy. This is more important than building wealth, power. These things are fleeting. They can go away in an instant. Part of the reason the rabbis will insist that the greatest thing one can have is not riches or property or whatever, but it's what?
Acceptance and humility.
I would say
That's good to have, but that's not what the rabbis think is the best thing a person can get for themselves in their life.
Hello.
a good name.
Also a good, thank you. Yes, good idea, but it's a Shem Tov, a good name, that you can earn for yourself a reputation as someone of decency and honor and virtue. of piety and all these things. And by doing that, you can that's all you can accumulate yourself truly.
But isn't that
The rabbis
also
would say.
helpful? Because within 3 generations, who remembers the reputation of most people?
Well, the rabbis believe that a good name endures. They don't proclaim a length of time it endures for. They just say it endures, which you couldn't read as everlasting. I guess at that point, maybe it's between you and God, if everybody forgets, I guess. But hopefully, because of the way you built something for yourself, it won't go that way. But we'll see. You're right. There's a hevel to that too. I'm not sure the rabbis in Kohelet agree on everything, for the record. There very well could be disagreements. Okay. So don't let your spirit be quickly vexed. For vexation or brought to anger. Vexed, they just like the word vexed because it sounds great. It just means anger. For anger abides in the breasts of fools. Right.
Mhm.
And kind of this is like in our culture today, this is kind of understood, I think. But there are many cultures, even on Earth today, where the opposite of this advice is essentially how they are, well, they always function. It's even the praiseworthy version of it to show emotions loudly, to be brought to fervor quickly. The advice here is the opposite of that. Anything to the invocation of fools? There doesn't have to be. I'm just curious.
Well, I think if you're really angry on the inside, you're hurting yourself. And so to me, that would be foolish. So that's how I relate that.
I like that. I think that's a good. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. It certainly is foolish, for many reasons to give yourself away like that. It's foolish for interpersonal reasons. It's harder to repair a relationship when you've had an emotional outburst at somebody. It's foolish for strategic reasons. You're unlikely to get what you want from yelling and shouting at somebody. It's foolish. I mean, it's foolish on a number of fronts, right?
Here I'm in a slightly different sense too.
Okay, sure.
Anger, I think, is the last defense against depression, having to accept something that you don't want to accept. You get angry to prevent having to accept that. And if having to accept something that you don't want to accept is the measure, you're making yourself the measure. If it makes you unhappy, then it's no good. And that, I think, is foolish.
It also reinforces self, as that Lauren is saying. This is, we realize how transient self is. Hanging on to those things through anger is foolish.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that for sure. Yeah, I can't really add that much to it.
Is there any distinction with the word abides, that it's not just that it's present, but that it remains, that it dwells, that it stays?
It's the hanging on of it. Anger can come and fleetingly go. But you hang on to it. I just saw a play version of Moby Dick. And Ahab held on to the anger until he died finally in drowning.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because the word here is yanuah, which is rest, right? We think of it most common in Shabbat Menucha, rest on Shabbat, right? That's one of the things so it's the word for, so it's like yeah, it's interesting that it's like it's that anger rests bechek kesilim, right? That it rests in them.
So is that like it found a home inside of that person?
Yeah, almost. Which again, abides is an interesting translation of that, and I think it does a good job of carrying the semantic meaning of it. Like it sits inside them, and it just becomes kind of like a permanent presence, in a way. Okay, let me pull back up my do. Okay. Don't say, how has it happened that former times were better than these? For it is not wise of you to ask that question. I feel like this is something we could put on a billboard today.
Yeah, right.
Is people, you know,
Like the good old days weren't that good. You know, you hang on to the memory of something.
Yeah.
Make America, oh, I won't even get into that.
sure. I mean,
Were there
Yeah.
not enough graves in Egypt that you had to bring us out here?
Yeah.
that's, I mean,
Maybe it's slavery,
you
but
know,
at least we could eat, yeah.
I like that the commentators bring in that there are two reasons why it's enough that Kohelet should say this, right? He's a wise guy. I don't mean that like a wise guy. He's a really wise.
He's a man.
He's the wisest guy there is, and he says it is not wise of you. It is not mechochma to ask this question. It's really what it says. Mechochma sha'alta al zeh. So it is not wise for you to ask about this. And that's the first thing I would assume is that would be deeply unsatisfying to any intelligent person, right? Because we're told that all the time today. Plenty of people like to say, for various reasons, that the past was better than today, whether they're talking about 30 years ago or 60 years ago or 80 years ago or 100 years. You know, you have to interrogate further to figure out exactly what they mean. But there are plenty of different people today that want to tell you that things used to be better than they are today. And the impulse, even what would seem to be the wise thing, would be to answer that, right? To come up with, right? Even politicians of the day, or how can we answer people who say things are not as good as they should be, or that things used to be better? And he doesn't, answer. He just tells you that the question itself is unwise. The rabbis come up with two reasons for why it's unwise to ask this question, both of which essentially suggest that there is never a good answer to this question. Why? Because nostalgia can't be defeated with facts and logic. And so he says, first of all, the commentators would say, first of all, the world really wasn't that good. This is nostalgia, which you're not going to beat by saying, well, actually, the world wasn't that good. And second of all, it's not wise to ask the question because, and again, we keep dealing here with issues of permanence. And he's going to say the second reason it's stupid to ask the question, sorry, it's not wise to ask the question, is that you can't go back. There is no restoration of the past. The future is unfolding. And so you can change the future, we have free will, but you're never going to make it like the past. You can't recreate the past. The past is gone and doesn't come back. And it's futile to do it. And so what you've done is, once again, you've made your life about hevel, about vapor.
That makes good sense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it, please. Push back.
yes, you can't go back. But don't you also have to have a mechanism where you say, maybe what we're doing right now is not so wise. Maybe we need to learn from the past. And
Absolutely. No, I think,
Yeah.
right. I don't think that it's saying that there's, nothing. Again, it's not saying everything should be new and all old things should be thrown away. He would say wisdom, what endures, should absolutely be brought from one generation to the next. So if a generation, in what you're saying, if a generation has failed to carry out wisdom from previous generations, someone should try and restore, someone should try and say, hey, this is something that might work to solve a current issue because it worked in the past to solve an issue.
We can learn from their mistakes. Why didn't it work? What did they do to make it not?
Right. Certainly, he would not say it's not wise to learn. But I like the verbiage of Steinsaltz, who writes, do not cling to fond memories of the past, neither with regard to your personal life nor with regard to the broader historical context, as the days of yore were not actually better than present times. He goes on to say later, it is unwise to express the pointless wish for a reprisal of the past. Either way, wistful, nostalgic remarks are unproductive. One should accept reality as it is.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, sounds, makes sense to me. And, for a lot of the people who are seeking solutions in the world, either for their personal lives or for our broader historical context at the moment, it may be this may be a line they might want to consult for some wisdom. Okay. Verse 11. Now we're going to get a series of popular aphorisms. Only he will then refute the accepted understanding of their wisdom. So this is going to be his rabbinic, you might think, but you shouldn't. This is what you should think instead, sort of. So he says, wisdom is as good as patrimony. And even better for those who behold the sun. And patrimony, inheritance, is what it says in the Hebrew. It says nahala, which is inheritance. This is just, again, it's we got to finish it, I guess. For those who behold the sun, for to be in the shelter of wisdom is to be also in the shelter of money. And the advantage of intelligence is that wisdom preserves the life of the one who possesses it. And then we're going to get sorry, before we do 13 rather, let's talk about 11 and 12, only because 13 is going to take us back to the idea of verse 10, where we were saying about former times being better than current times. So.
And you're saying he's going to refute this, that the shelter of wisdom is also the shelter of money. He's going to refute.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He's saying one who has both wisdom and silver, again, silver, money, kesef, is doubly secure, essentially. It's just and has great influence. But the advantage of knowledge over wealth is that wisdom preserves the life of its possessor. So if you had to pick one, wisdom and knowledge is better to have than money.
Okay, so this is refuting the idea. That
Right, so it said,
is
right,
Covariant.
right, and it says, so when it says wisdom is as good as inheritance, he's saying it's even better for those who understand how to use wisdom, that they understand the benefits of wisdom and knowledge. Like, for instance, it keeps you alive, it helps you make, because you are therefore probably more attuned to figuring out what's wrong with, going to people who aren't stupid, not drinking hot oil to treat a stomach, you know what I mean? Like not doing something really dumb. And also, but in how to influence with other people and how to, do things that, come to other agreements, come up with novel solutions to problems. It gives you benefits beyond just the brute force of wealth, where I guess he's saying it's like a multifaceted advantage. Okay, verse 13. Consider God's doing. Who can straighten what has been twisted or warped?
It's more referring to God, what he has twisted.
Right, yes. Right. Right. So who can, right, who can mend that what God has twisted or warped? This is like the proto version of the rabbinic, it's not on you to finish the task, but neither are you free to decease from it. This is really just the first part. It says it's not on you to finish the task of completing the world, because God is the one that made it this way, and you yourself aren't going to fix it. The rabbis will amend that to say, essentially, it's not that it's not on you, it's on you, all of you, humanity, to fix it. And the Jewish people specifically to be the light unto the nation so that everyone will know how to fix it. And it's not on every individual person to do it. You just have to do what you can, where you can. And so the rabbis adjust it to make it less of a proclamation and more of a proverb, more of a maxim. Okay. Verse 14. So in a time of good fortune, enjoy the good fortune, and in a time of misfortune, reflect. The one no less than the other was God's doing. Consequently, mortals may find no fault with God.
General moral, you take what you have and enjoy it, or if you have nothing, reflect on it.
The opposite of that is to say, God, you made a mistake. You didn't do what I wanted you to.
Yeah, right. Which of course is a human, but not very helpful behavior.
Right, and I like the idea of when it says, and I'm just going to see this note. It says, right, when it talks about good and bad and both being God's doing, it's not saying, well, they're both equal or something. Chas v'shalom. It's not at all saying that. Instead, it's saying we're not going to be able to understand the true implications of every action and whether they are truly good or truly evil. And in fact, what it means by this, saying mortals can find no, human beings can't find any fault with God, is not that, like, not even about God's perfection so much, but more about us, that it's not like we can claim that we know good and evil objectively, right? Because if we say something's unfair, by what measure are we usually measuring? Right. The fairness or the goodness of something, right? Now, what he's saying at the beginning speaks to this. It says we have to do what we can. I'm sorry. We have to do what we can in a time of good fortune, enjoy good fortune. In a time of misfortune, see what you can do. Reflect, meaning like look around and see. Re'eh, like look to see what you can do to make things better. But understand that you're not going to be able to, sitting around and essentially, I read this as a critique of people who spend all day commentating, um, of the commentator class, the podcasters and whatnot. That they sit on perches and they assume they know good and evil, and they pass out the decrees about this thing I saw is good and this thing I saw is not good. But they don't really have a basis. We don't know what basis they're using to define good and evil, and I doubt it's one God would agree with. So they can all cool their jets. As far as God is concerned, I would say, at least as far as Kohelet is concerned.
Well, and we can only see things at this level and within our, vision. There is a huger, for lack of a better, which isn't a word, but lack of a better word,
Sure.
Perspective that we don't have the ability to see, right? Which is what I think you're saying, is that we don't really, sometimes things might seem evil to us, but we don't really know the bigger picture and what's going on with all the tentacles that could come from the act. But it's still up to us. Like if I saw somebody hitting somebody else, I would try to intervene.
Right.
Right.
And by the way, I don't think when this is talking about, sorry to interrupt.
That's
I
okay.
don't think when this is talking about, you can't tell good and evil. I really don't think it's talking, like if you see someone mercilessly beating someone up on the street, I don't think it's talking about that. You know what I mean? Like I think that's just evil. Like that's like that Kohelet would be like, if you're like, no, that you can tell is pretty bad. But there are things that are gray areas in
Sure.
life. There are
Sure.
things, and that's where he's talking about like, you don't know which way something's going to go. Someone else might be willing to say, that's the way to go, it's good, or that's the way to go, or not to go, it's evil. Someone else may feel comfortable making that pronouncement. He's saying maybe you shouldn't.
Right.
Again, not about saying like somebody going, ha ha ha, I'm gonna murder a whole bunch of people. God forbid. Nobody should ever do anything like that. But like if somebody said that, Kohelet would be like, no, you can say that's evil. Like that's okay. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty cut and dry.
Right.
But the edge cases are not that common.
Okay.
Is really his we're much more gray than we are absolute paragon or the
Yeah.
absolute good or bad.
That the primary like error that we made in Eden is to eat the fruit and to measure by our own standards what is good and evil. The like objective view of good and evil that you guys are talking about would line up clearly with the structure of the law that the Lord gave to us. And so to see that as good and evil is to receive what he has clearly painted. To view the gray area in our own subjective measures is like the same mistake we made in the garden.
I would agree somewhat with that we don't want to replace morality as defined by the Torah and interpreted by us in every generation. We wouldn't want to replace that with a subjective individual rubric of morality, where everyone gets to pick and choose what they think is important, and if they decide murder is okay or something, then it's good then because they've said so. Like that's absolutely, yes, something we want to avoid. We certainly do. Okay, let's see. We are on verse 15. In my own, it's interesting, in my own brief span of life, it's not really exactly what it says, but et hakol ra'iti b'yamei hevli, so it's like the days of my futility, or like my hevel days, kind of, like my vapor days, my fleeting days. So I guess that's where they're getting the translation in my own brief span of life. I have seen both these things. Sometimes someone good perishes despite their goodness, and sometimes someone wicked endures despite their wickedness. So don't overdo goodness and don't act too wise, or you may be dumbfounded. Don't overdo wickedness and don't be a fool, or you may die before your time. It is best that you grasp the one without letting go of the other, for those who fear God will do their duty by both. This is just what I was saying before, that we're gray, that we're not all one thing. Nobody is going to be. It is best that you understand that, right? The rabbis will expand on this, right? The teaching of the Yetzer Hatov and the Yetzer Hara, the evil impulse and the good impulse. The Yetzer Hatov, the good impulse within us, drives us to do good things of kindness and mercy and charity. The Yetzer Hara in us, it also causes us to be meek and sometimes a little indecisive, maybe. There are positives and downsides to the Yetzer Hara, though more positives than downsides. And the Yetzer Hatov, which is the good inclination. The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is what causes us to hurt people and take advantage and and be malicious in any way. But it also causes striving for merit, cunning, and meritocracy, right. So there are fewer good things than bad things to the Yetzer Hara, but not no good things. So what the rabbis say, which I think draws from this teaching, is that you'll never completely suppress the Yetzer Hara to the point of extinguishing it. And no matter how bad you are, you're never going to extinguish the Yetzer Hatov, even though the more you feed one, the more it grows and the more the other diminishes. So the rabbis say, mitzvah goreret mitzvah, avera goreret avera. That doing mitzvot, fulfilling God's commandments, leads to doing more of them and fulfilling more of God's commandments, whereas doing sins leads to one doing more sins. And so they believe that you can power by feeding these things, the Yetzer Hatov or the Yetzer Hara, but you'll never completely extinguish one so that you don't have one. Everyone's got a spark of good, even that can be. Now, again, like I'm not saying we're not taking the most evil person, God forbid, and saying, well, does that mean they were good deep down? No. It just means on a philosophical, theological level, we believe that no one is so irredeemable that they have no instinct for good left within them. Doesn't mean they're ever going to feed it. They've obviously chosen again and again not to. It may stay a little tiny ember for the rest of their natural days, which probably won't be that long based on what he said before. Don't overdo wickedness and be a fool, or you may die before your time. Anyway, does all that make sense? What I'm saying about this? It's about the grayness. Essentially, following Maimonides will outline further the idea of the derech be'emtza, or a derech emtza, the middle path. This idea that there's a moderation, that we're supposed to. You could choose to be the most pious, but actually, probably better for everyone that we all. You could also choose to do nothing. Probably better to take a middle path, and be observant, be regular, be reliable, in whatever way that can be most impactful for you.
That fits our understanding of growth and development, and that children see things in black and white, and as they get older, they're able to see it's gray, and they end up seeing the mother they hated is also the mother they loved. And then they have to deal with the guilt feelings about it, and people tend to regress.
I like
you
what's
see nations doing that. Oh, they're the bad people.
well here. I like what Steinsaltz says. He says, adopt the middle road. Do not go to any extreme. For one who fears God, he is the moderate person, and he will emerge from them all, the many problems destined to afflict those who tend toward the extremes. So again, right, and again, we get even here, don't overdo goodness and don't act too wise, or you may be dumbfounded, right?
Mhm.
Extremism is inherently bad. I think this is an important point. I say this often, especially because we often hear from some more Orthodox Jews, the concern that perhaps, if you're not doing it to, the 10,000th degree, that you're not really doing it at all.
Amen.
Which is a problem because their extremism limits us and it limits themselves. Now some limits are good. Again, moderation is important. I'm not saying do the total opposite. That would also be dumb, according to Kohelet. But it's worth noting that extremism is bad, and the wisest king of the Jews ever said so. And so maybe we should show Kohelet to some of our friends and see what happens. Probably they won't care. Probably they won't care. Is the problem with as Kohelet says, the problem with extremism, those who overdo righteousness dumbfound themselves. So, we'll just have to be wise enough to figure it out together. Okay, that's the best Nechemta I got for that one. We'll move on to verse 19. Wisdom is more of a stronghold to someone wise than 10 magnates. Magnates? Okay, those who rule, masters, shalitim, but we don't really know what. Yeah, so those who rule, got it, understood. Wisdom, 10 magnates that a city may contain. So a wise person will be more fortified by wisdom than 10 rulers or some large number of powerful men. We're just picking 10 because it's a nice round number, but a large number of powerful men in a city. And so what are we seeing here again with this idea? Again, it's that even more important than wealth is wisdom.
Wealth and power.
Yes, wealth and power, but right, of the so-called, if we had a triforce of wealth, power, and wisdom is supposed to be the best of those. And now we're gonna just this next one in 20, it looks like we're taking a look back at 16, where we said don't be too good, which we just talked about. Don't be too good, or you might be or you might be dumbfounded. It says, for there is not one good person on earth who does what is best and doesn't err.
Is there a proverb, perfection is not of this world, saith the Lord? I can't remember. Certainly something Christians say.
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't have them all memorized.
But the
I can look it up for
person
you.
doesn't exist, is it saying?
Let's actually see. Is there a... No, there is not a Tanakh source. Right. In our reality, there are no perfectly righteous people. And you can't achieve that perfect ideal. He says, finally, don't pay attention to everything that is said, so that you may not hear your slave reviling you. For well you remember the many times that you yourself have reviled others. What is this? This is a fun two verse thing. What are we talking about?
Well, I always, if I point my finger at somebody else, I can always point it back at me and say, I do that too, you know?
Well,
And,
the tendency to say that politician is evil and bad,
mhm.
we don't really know.
Well, it's interesting. I think here it's saying two separate things, right?
Mhm.
The first thing is what is I don't know if people still say this, maybe they don't. But it used to be that people who were in the press a lot got the advice not to read anything about themselves in the press. For the idea, psychologically, that it would be destabilizing to some degree. That if you read about what people say about you all the time, you will internalize some of that. So the first one's saying don't pay attention to everything that's said. So maybe don't listen to everything. Don't go looking for stuff about yourself so that you may not hear your slave reviling you. Look, here it's talking about like your servant, right? Like somebody today we even have your underling at work or something. People blow off steam and they're gonna say stuff, and it'd be better that you just didn't hear it, is basically what he's saying. And even if you do hear it, he's saying, and this is where the second part comes in, you also do this sometimes, right? The hierarchy of screaming or whatever from it's you know you she's just saying, look, you do this sometimes yourself, so cut him a break because you also do this.
We used to say at Managers, we're neither as good nor as bad as you think.
Sure, yeah. And so, this is just, I think this is perfectly good advice. Maybe don't listen that much for stuff about yourself. And if you happen to hear something negative, let it roll off your back is essentially what he said. Because, you say stuff too. And when you say it, you say, well, I didn't really mean it. I was just blowing off steam. I know the guy's a good guy, or I know that they try their, right? That's what you would say if you were confronted with it. You'd be like, I didn't, because in your head, you'd be like, well, I didn't really mean that. That's just what I said. So essentially he's saying, give them that same grace that you'd give yourself. Right. And just say, okay, let it roll off your back. So what? Now, obviously, again, this doesn't apply to extremes. If they're saying, let's kill him, then call the police. Like that, that's obviously not just somebody blowing off steam. But like, if they're just like, oh, that guy's such a jerk, then like, yeah, maybe just let it be. You shouldn't have been listening that hard anyway. Okay. Yeah. Thoughts?
Again, the middle path. Wise is the man who can hear what someone else's criticism and ask himself, do I need to learn from that? But not be upset by that which doesn't apply to him. I wouldn't say don't listen to everything that's said. Hear what's said and hopefully have the wisdom to decide what you need to do about it, whether nothing or whether.
I guess he's saying to me, and again, this is personal to me, probably, especially what I'm about. But in my head, what I'm hearing when I read this is he's saying, he sends me a letter. Kohelet says, Rabbi, after you give your sermon on Friday night, don't go into the oneg and listen for 30 minutes at every table to hear what people thought. Just say your hellos and kibitz a little and go home. Right? Because there's no good that comes from that. Maybe I'll hear a nice thing, maybe I'll hear a bad thing, but there's no benefit to me in either, truly. Better I not try too hard to listen. You hear it? That's what he's talking. He's not saying, it's not like somebody comes to you and says, if somebody came to me the next week and said, Rabbi, I want to talk to you about your sermon. I had these thoughts about it. Of course I wouldn't say, oh, I'm not supposed to hear about that. Thank you very much. No. I would say, okay, yeah, let's sit down and have a conversation. But there's a difference between struggling to find this feedback that's not offered and being offer genuine, feedback that's based in either someone's or your own benefit. Those are different things.
Yeah.
Okay. So kol zo nisiti v'chokma. All this I tested with wisdom. I thought I could fathom it, but it eludes me. What is it? Wisdom, the greater wisdom. This greater wisdom that Kohelet has been seeking the whole time. All of these things he attempted to bring into one unified wisdom. Maybe not even a theory of wisdom, just a unified wisdom, but it's distant from him. Because a person can't acquire perfect wisdom. Even him. The secret of what happens is elusive and deep, deep down. Amok, amok. Who can discover it? I put my mind to studying, exploring, and seeking wisdom, and the reason of things, and to studying wickedness, stupidity, madness, and folly. Right? Are we about to get to? Yeah. I actually wasn't even there. If you look at this, I was only here, and I was still looking at this, just trying to see if I could decide something about the Hebrew and the English of the different words for bad that we decided to use at the end here. And then you were like, "Oh no," and I was like, "Oh, damn, we reached it. We got there." Because I wasn't on the same line, right? It's Mar. She's Mar mi Mavet, right? Is that what we're? I don't know. I mean, I'm losing my mind now. Okay.
Out in the lobby, by the way.
Right. So, umotseani, and I found, or I find, marmi mavet, et haisha. Which again, you should always follow that with asher hi mitzodim. Anyway, we'll get into the English of it. So I find more bitter than death. And again, they're gonna say this is like this is the seductress. This is an Isabel type, right? This isn't just a woman. They're not saying women are bitter and death, right? And then, right, asher he, the one who is all traps, whose hands are fetters, and whose heart is snares. He who is pleasing to God escapes her, and he who is displeasing is caught by her. This is the big, right? This is the big offensive, whatever, right? So what's going on?
Saying don't get caught up in passion and following seduction.
Why would that be the advice? I don't disagree.
Good advice, because you'd be doing some stupid things.
Okay, might need more specificity, but true.
Yes.
It all goes back to the root. Remember, it all goes back to the root of his point. He has a point, which is even though he can't grasp the true ultimate wisdom, he knows what makes a life meaningful. And a life of meaning is not one that is based on carnal pursuits. It is one that is a balanced life based on purpose and of doing good, which is a mix of enjoying what God has given you and doing what God wants of you. If you can do those things, you live a good life. That's what everyone should be aiming for, according to the wisdom Kohelet did find. And this woman, this seductive woman, this woman he finds more bitter than death. Why is she more bitter than death?
pulling you away from the.
This isn't the first time, he didn't use the word bitterness or anything, but this isn't the first time we've gotten the imagery from Kohelet. In the last chapter, he did it too. Of it being better to be dead
Born, yeah,
than, right, of,
being stillborn.
right,
No.
than the rich waste their lives being dilettantes and whatnot.
Yeah.
It'd be better they weren't alive than spend their lives doing that, right? Is what it says. Stillborn is the very graphic. It would have been better they'd been that, but essentially it says it'd been better they not alive. This is saying the same thing. Just the woman is the avatar of it, in a way. So this particular woman he finds more bitter than death. Because death would be preferable for a man that's going to throw his life away, not doing anything.
Does this also indicate she would be an extreme? So don't let yourself be pulled to those extremes
Could be.
instead of the middle of the road like you've been talking about.
I could see that. I'm not sure exactly that's what he's going for here, but I could see he could be, and I could see that being a. You could certainly. I'll take every point of evidence I can on that. So, but I think really here, right? It's not so much. It's not about women. It's about the man who cannot control himself, cannot bring himself to live a life of goodness. And
Better
it's
not to defile the blessing of life that you've been granted than to do this.
than to live a life of meaninglessness,
Yes.
which is he's just saying this is one more way, like the other ways I've listed, that one could live a life of meaninglessness, and I'm telling you not to.
Havel.
Right. Without using the word, he's saying she's Hevel, essentially. But he can't say she's Hevel, she's an agent, she's her own person, she's a human being.
She's a pathway.
But for the man he's speaking to, who is theoretically reading this book to gain knowledge from him on how to live life, he's telling that man this note. Is, essentially don't be brought down. You could write the same thing in reverse for women if you wanted. Essentially, it's saying don't be brought down by your partner.
By wishes.
Pick a good partner in life if you want to make this a positive instead of a negative. Instead of don't being brought, I don't want to say it that way. Instead, we'll say pick a good partner. Pick an Ezer Kenegdo, as we say back in the story of Adam and Chava, or Adam and Eve. Right? We say that God created Chava or Eve to be an Ezer Kenegdo, which is a really hard to translate phrase because it doesn't really mean anything in translatable Hebrew. Ezer means, right, like something helpful. Ke is the prefix meaning like. Neged means against or opposed or set across from in some way. And negdo, means his, refers back to the guy. So an Ezer Kenegdo is a help like against him.
Right.
Difficult to translate. The rabbis decide that what that means, we translate that as something like a helpmeet.
What?
A helpmeet. Essentially that the proper woman partner for a man is one who will be a sharpening rod for one that will improve him. The rabbis will say further that if he is worthy of her, she'll be a help. This is another interpretation. And if he's not, she'll be opposed to. So it splits up the two words and puts them. So those are two interpretations of that. You can pick what you like better. In any event, that's what I wanted to spend the time to go into this, to go over this, because this is a big famous line. and everybody likes to talk, it's very, Kohelet doesn't like the ladies. Kohelet loves the ladies. He just doesn't want you to live the life he's describing here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyone have anything they want to say before we move on to his further speaking?
He says in a way, despite all my efforts and despite my wisdom, I have not found the wisdom to understand the very basis of things. Am I right in remembering, Rabbi, that what he prayed for was, Lord, give me the wisdom to judge your people? And that's the wisdom he was granted, not overall omniscience.
Well, he was never, he was never granted omniscience.
Right.
He was granted, he was the wisest man that ever lived, but he didn't eat from the tree of knowledge. He doesn't have the wisdom. He doesn't have divine wisdom.
Right.
He doesn't have right. Like he doesn't even have whatever we were just reading in Second Kings about how Elisha can work like a radar system, and he can connect like a satellite and see where everyone is and pass on to generals. He could be like a satellite warning system that tells everyone where the forces are so they win wars. He doesn't have that either. Like again, he doesn't have he's not any of those things. He's just the wisest guy. He's given a special wisdom, but it's not the wisdom of everything. It's not God's wisdom. It's not divine wisdom. And this is just further proof of that if you needed it from the text of Kings. He tells you directly, I don't have that wisdom. I tried my whole life to get to finish that circle, to get perfect wisdom, and it eludes me.
And so what he demonstrates too, that I think is good, is a humility. His recognition of his limitations and his inabilities.
Well, and here he's actually this is a good transition because he's gonna say what he found. He's gonna say, this is what, so he says here, Re'eh, see, ze matzati, amra kohelet, achat le'achat, limtso cheshbon. See, this is what I found, said Kohelet. This is interesting because again, he's writing from first person, but occasionally throws his own name in there.
Yeah.
Amra Kohelet. And again, we get Amra. Because Kohelet is a feminine word. So Amra would be she said.
Yeah.
And of course, we know he started the book by saying, Ani Kohelet. I was Melech beYisrael, Melech beYerushalayim, I was king in Jerusalem. So we know he's Solomon, but he's using, because again, he takes on this personification of wisdom. And Chokhmah, wisdom, is a feminine word in Hebrew. So that's why his name in this is feminine. See, this is what I found, said Kohelet, item by item in my search for the reason of things. As for what I sought further but did not find, I found only one true human being in 1,000, and among all these I did not find a woman. But of course, it doesn't mean a woman. He found many women. Famously, Solomon found lots of them. But he did not find a perfect match for him because of his uniqueness. So even though he had 1,000 wives and concubines, he's letting you know, even with all of that, I didn't find a perfect, perfect person. But see, this I did find. God made human beings plain, but they have engaged in too much reasoning. It actually says God has made them straight. I guess it could be righteous too, but probably not yashar. Hishvonot rabim, or many schemes. Right? So it's less much reasoning and more manipulations, schemes, distortions, tricks. He said, essentially, he's saying here, God made us capable of the task we are in the world for is to make people better. God made us capable of that, of being good. So what does it mean that they've engaged in Vikshu Hishvonot Rabim? They've done too much scheming.
You get caught up in false beliefs. And you can get it all worked out, and it's perfect, except it's horrible.
Okay, that's one idea.
I know people who thought Hitler was a good guy.
Sure. I mean, okay.
And what he did was horrible.
Yes. But in this case, essentially, we're not talking again about extremes or individuals. We're talking about here that he's saying in general, humanity is the cause of its own problems.
Well, then,
Conspiratorial thinking. Instead of seeing what's given, what's obvious, what's good, we have to bend it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this part, obviously, right? It's also in the Jewish conception. We don't have any kind of concept of original sin or anything. It's
Right.
not a Jewish idea. Human beings come into this world not responsible for anybody else's sin. In fact, their parents are responsible for their sins for the first 13 years of their lives. There is no. God brought us into this world even today. You had the chance to be good. You have that chance, but you will be corrupted by the world because human beings corrupt the world, is essentially what he says, what he's saying here. But again, the only bright side to that in the Nechemta is human beings can choose not to ruin the world.
right.
They just have to choose to do that, which he doesn't see happening. But at some point, hopefully they will. Maybe even when the Mashiach comes, we don't know. Could be. But whenever that'll be is when it'll be. Okay. Any other thought? We finally made it through the lot of proverbs and such in verse 7. Thoughts? Does anybody have a favorite proverb? I can't be copyrighted, right? Studying books.
I very much like chapter 13.
Verse 13.
Yeah, I'm sorry, verse 13. You can't second guess God. You don't know more than he does. Don't try to.
14.
Well, 13 and 14. Yeah.
Okay.
And in a time of misfortune, reflect. I think that's wise.
Reflect and act, the commentator would add, not just that it gives the impression that what he's saying is that you should just sit there and think about it, and that's not what he's saying.
Yeah.
You should think about how you could improve things, and then you should go about doing it.
Make them more skillful.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Anyone else have one that they think was particularly illuminating? Okay. Okay, Sam's got one. He's circling one. Tell you, you got one?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were. I thought you were.
I was looking and I didn't find any.
No worries. Okay.
I like 19.
Yeah.
Wisdom is more of a stronghold to a wise man than 10 magnets that a city may contain. And I go back to how grateful I feel satisfied with my life, period, be it wealth or, and I'm not wealthy, but, or, you know, my family, et cetera, rather than having to continually want more, 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 which is how I see magnates or whatever.
Sure, yes, right. The
Mhm.
robber barons, the big,
Yeah.
big, powerful captains of industry and whatnot. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I definitely think, you know, the rabbis of the Talmud will go on to say, will ask in Pirkei Avot, they'll ask, who is wise? And obviously Solomon is wise, but what about us? How can we be wise?
Mhm.
The rabbis will say, the one who is wise is one who learns from every person.
Yeah.
And so the wise person is one who naturally tries to learn, understanding that everyone has something to teach, in one way or another. So I just like to append that to that because it's a nice little couplet there. Okay. Let us move to chapter 8. We'll go on for a little bit longer. We'll probably have to mix in the middle again because this is going to be another. It's not that long, but we'll see. See what we do. Okay. You know, if you come to services on Friday nights, you know, Micha Mocha, we say, we know who is like you. God, here we get Micha Chacham. There's so many hechas. Kehe Chacham. Kehe Chacham. Okay. Kehe Chacham. So Mi Kehe Chacham. So who is like the sage? Who is like the wise man? And who knows the meaning of the adage? Wisdom lights up a person's face so that deep discontent is dissembled. So wisdom influences his other character traits. And this next thing, he knows Ani, Pimelech, like by the order of the king. So obey the king's orders. Oh, Pimelech Shmor. So obey the king's orders and don't rush into uttering an oath by God. Right? And we know this is why the rabbis will later say nobody's allowed to make oaths, because oaths are really serious and people keep making them and then breaking them, and that really upsets God. So the rabbis will later just say, you know what? We're not going to do oaths. Nobody do oaths anymore. It says, leave his presence. Do not tarry in a dangerous situation. Leave his presence. I don't understand. It says, don't flee. So I don't really understand. Don't flee from him. So leave his presence. Do not tarry in a dangerous situation, for he can do anything he pleases. That makes sense. Kings are kings. Inasmuch as a king's command is authoritative, and none can say to him, what are you doing? Right? This also makes sense. He's a king. Nobody can tell him not to do what he wants. One who obeys orders will not suffer from the dangerous situation. Someone wise, however, will bear in mind that there is a time of doom, or a time of judgment. It says ve'et u mishpat. That's a time of justice or a time of judgment. But there's also a time it says, yeah, I mean, an evil matter, right? A time in judgment, yeah.
Or misfortunes suggest.
Misfortune, that's another one that's good. Right, so you obey the laws and you do what the king says. You also don't do things that are against God, right? Because you understand that, okay, even if you're obeying orders, if you obey really bad ones, God will be mad about that because there's still a day where God will judge you for the things you do, and you got to hold by that ultimately. For there is a time for every experience, including for judgment or misfortune or doom. For calamity overwhelms, right? The evil of man overwhelms him. It takes really great wisdom in order to get it right every time. So you probably won't. Indeed, what is to happen is unknown. Even when it is on the point of happening, who can tell? No one has authority over the life breath, to hold back the life breath, the spirit. There is no authority over the day of death. There is no mustering out from that war. Wickedness is powerless to save its owner. I like that not just for the theodicy angle, for the idea that, ooh, the wicked getting what's coming to them. But I also really like the idea that we're responsible for how we approach any situation, even a catastrophic one. And he almost says, without using the word, that it's more dignified to not plead for your life, for instance, when it says wickedness is powerless to save its owner. Wickedness is an interesting translation. Um uh
Power or riches.
yeah, maneuvering even here. Says there is no sending a proxy in war, and maneuvering will not rescue its owner from death. So maneuvering here being like backroom deals and money and bribes. That's what it means. That's what the commentators think it means by this kind of this wickedness is powerless to save its owner. And he almost alludes to there being a dignity in not doing those things, not trying to connive every way to keep yourself alive. It's kind of like Shakespeare's, I think it's in Richard III. I don't know, one of those King's plays. One of those Wars of the Roses plays. Um, um, and this idea that it matters how someone falls down when the fall's all that's left. I don't know. I like the idea that it's talking about that even without mentioning honor or dignity in that way. It almost does mention it, but from the inverse. Verse 9. All these things I observed. I noted all that went on under the sun, while people still had authority over others to treat them unjustly. Every kind of government has problems, and he's essentially saying that anytime men are given power over other men, they will abuse it. They will abuse them.
Power corrupts.
Is essentially what he's saying before anyone wrote that down.
Yep.
And then I saw scoundrels coming from the holy site, right? You'd call them Kodesh, and being brought to burial, while such had acted righteously were forgotten in the city. While such as had acted righteously were forgotten in the city. And here is another frustration. So it's going to go on with more frustrations after this. Right, this is just, again, being frustrated about theodicy. Sometimes the wicked get something nicer than the people who weren't. And another frustration, the fact that the sentence imposed for evil deeds is not executed swiftly, which is why people are emboldened to do evil. Right? We get that? The fact that sinners may do evil 100 times and their punishment still be delayed. For although I am aware that it will be well with those who revere God, since they show reverence, and it will not be well with scoundrels, and they will not live long because they do not revere God. So he's saying, I understand that this is true. Theodicy. not questioning it officially. He says, knowing all that is true, here is a frustration that occurs in the world. So even though he said, I know that the Odyssey is real, but sometimes someone upright is requited according to the conduct of the scoundrel, and sometimes the scoundrel is requited according to the conduct of the upright. Right? And this is all Havel. He says, I say all that is futility. Right? So he's saying people expect justice and fairness. And I know we say eventually God will make sure that they get what's just and fair. But I see and others see a world where inequality exists. And by this he means that sometimes the righteous get the penalty of the scoundrel, and the scoundrel gets the reward of the righteous, at least by human beings in the world. He's not saying, he said, I believe in theodicy. I'm not rejecting but that might come after or in some other way that I can't perceive. I'm perceiving inequality with my eyes.
It's run by people, not God.
Right. There is that. So again, this is he's going back and going. So he said, "Oh, there's inequality. Maybe I should just be frivolous, but there's nothing there either." So in this case, he's going to say, "I therefore praised enjoyment, for the only good people can have under the sun is to eat and drink and enjoy themselves." This is not bad. This is good. You should enjoy what you have. This is again the only thing that's in that people can do to change their state. That much can accompany them in exchange for their wealth through the days of life that God has granted them under the sun. So you do these things you enjoy so that you can have joy, so that life isn't a slog. Really, it's just about your mindset. He goes on in 16, for I have set my mind to learn wisdom and to observe the business that goes on in the world, even to the extent of going without sleep day and night. Right? And he's saying here, one who is constantly trying to discover the meaning of wisdom doesn't rest. There's no rest for them. Not that they don't rest because they don't want to, but because the matters are so, they keep them up. And I have observed all that God brings to pass. Indeed, human beings cannot guess the events that occur under the sun. For humans try strenuously, but fail to guess them. And even if those who are wise should think to discover them, they would not be able to guess them.
That kind of implies that if you see something that can change, you don't do it. I mean, you accept everything.
I mean, I don't want to say you're wrong. I think that you could read that, but I don't think you have to read it that way. I think what he's saying is, for most people, again, this is written as kind of for most people, the pursuit of all Earth's wisdom, probably not the best use of your time on this planet.
Okay.
Probably better to do good and enjoy life. Part of doing good and enjoying life, this recipe of his, is making the world a better place. Part of doing mitzvot, doing what God wants of us, being a light unto the nations. So you have to do that as part of it. And that will give you some enjoyment, some natural inner peace in some way. And you should enjoy the food and drink that you can get with your money that you earn for working. And by having that enjoyment with friends and family and whatnot in your life, you will live a life with joy in it, which is a good life. He's not teaching you how to become the wisest person ever, to give you the answers to life. He says he's not even sure he has them. If you're looking for those, you're probably going to waste your time. Better that you do this. Now, if you want to spend your life searching for the answers to every question of life. You can try. He thinks you're probably going to fail because he failed and he's better than you. But I guess you could. He thinks the way to do life correctly, for you to do life best for you, is to do it this way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How do we fit in there? I think I can guess at your answer. Okay. I don't want to live my life just enjoying what I have. I want to include that in my life. But if I could find a way to cure cancer or to bring peace to the world, I would like to pursue that. It probably, as Rabbi Tarfon said, it won't fall to me, but at least I'll add to that piece.
Sure.
So I don't think I'm being a fool in wanting to pursue things that aren't understood.
It's not that you're a fool for wanting to pursue things that aren't understood. If you're doing it within the context of doing good and life enjoyment, you can still, like, if it's part of your job, that's fine. If that's what then that makes some sense. And for some people, it may be worth investigating some answers to some of these things. But for most people, it won't be. For most people, you can take him at his word and know a good amount, and then live a good life where you enjoy yourself and be content. And honestly, again, he's not searching for you to be wise. He's searching for you to live the best possible life. And again, there is an insinuation there that the best possible life is not one lived by a wise person, which he says over and over again. We shouldn't be surprised by that conclusion. He says repeatedly that his pursuit of knowledge has brought him nothing but suffering.
But it seems to me a good person should pursue making the world a better place for his fellow man.
But you don't hang on to the.
How do you do that through wisdom?
Don't do it through wisdom.
That's a good point. You don't do it through wisdom. The gaining of wisdom is a personal pursuit, not a. It doesn't make humanity better. It may make, again, a scientific breakthrough may make humanity better, but that's not the same as what he's talking about metaphysics. He's talking about the self and understanding again, this is this is what he's talking about. And that, again, he's saying because you're not going to get to the bottom of it, that's the problem, is that if you could solve it, that would be great, but he can't, and you're not him. So you're probably going to fail. And when you do fail, you'll have done a lot of hevel.
And you might feel crappy while you're in it.
Right. And your soul will get crushed while you're failing to fail. While you're succeeding at failing, rather. And he just doesn't want that life for you, because that sucks. That's the worst. Nobody wants that. He's not saying, if your job is a cancer researcher, he's not saying, hey, just go have a barbecue, forget about cancer research. He's not saying that. If your job is cancer researcher, you should do a very good job at it, so that you earn your parnasa, and you should then use that instead of dwelling on, oh, it's so sad that there's cancer, and I wish I could understand how best we could understand the problem of why he'd say, you know what? You're doing good things in your cancer research. Maybe go have a barbecue on Saturday and chill out a little so that you don't drive yourself insane. You know what I mean? You can be a person who makes the world a better place and follow Kohelet's advice. Really, the only profession here under threat is philosophers.
Right.
That seems to be.
That's really the only group where this is like a injunction against their existence. It's not talking about psychiatrists or researchers or whatnot. It's talking about people who sit around thinking, oh, those people maybe okay, maybe they saying you should not do that so much. Maybe go out and do something for the world, pick up some trash, do something. If you do that too, then you can sit around and think, right? As long as you're also doing the barbecues and the making the world a better place. If you're doing those two things, make yourself miserable the rest of the time. He goes, okay, fine, I guess I can't stop you. But like, it's not the goal. He sets out the goal because he wasn't able to figure out everything, but he did figure out this. That's why the book exists. If he didn't figure it out, he might not have written it. All right, we'll pick up at 9 next week. Thank you all very much for joining us, and thank you for everyone who joins us online